Welcome to the second round of my first ever classical tournament. And if you didn't know, the time control here is 1 hour plus 10-second increment. And I was actually here playing with the black pieces against someone from India with a rating of 1047. And obviously, this means that I am the favorite, but he could be heavily underrated like me. I know that I'm not rated, but that's because I never played a tournament before. And same thing could be with him. He may have only played one or two, so no underestimating anybody. And the accuracies actually show that I played well, and he didn't. But it is a short game, and it's not really that accurate when it's a short game. And whatever happened in the game cannot really be analyzed. You'll see what I mean in a second. So the game started with the move 1 e4. This is obviously the most common move, nothing to say here. I responded with a5. I never played the Sicilian defense. Knight f3, knight e6, then bishop c4. This is the Italian game, which obviously everyone knows. I respond with bishop c5. That's how I respond. I really don't like to go into the fried liver, so I went bishop c5, c3, main line, move for an advantage. Knight f6, attacking the pawn. You really have to, otherwise the move d4 would be too strong. And here there are two main moves. One of them is actually d4, takes, and I had many games like this where there is knight c3, there is knight to d2, and there's even bishop to d2. Bishop to d2 is actually the most accurate, and black can either capture or could either capture like this. And so much theory here. I am well prepared for it, but I wasn't really that enthusiastic about going into this line. So luckily for me, he actually did not play d4. He played d3, which is the more quiet variation. Here there are three theoretical responses. One of them is castles, the other one is a6. But I chose to go for the third, more solid one, which is d6. And usually d6 and a6 are played together, so it doesn't make that much of a difference. He castles, I castle, and bishop to g5, just pinning my knight to the queen, but it's not really that dangerous or annoying. I play bishop e6, and see, a6 is actually the best move here. They're both playable, d6 and a6. But instead I went to bishop e6, which is not losing or anything. Here he either can retreat or could capture the bishop. You can't really leave the bishop here because I take, and this is not a good pawn structure for white. There's no reason to do this. So he chooses to take. He chooses to take, which is the best move. I take back, and now I open up the f file. Yes, I double the pawns, but I do have d5 potentially, trying to undouble. Here goes queen b3, which is a tricky move because it seemingly attacks both of these pawns. This move seems like a fork, but the truth is, it's not really a fork. While queen c8 does actually defend both of them, but queen c8 is a bit passive, and I had this position before, by the way, in an online game. I checked, and I went on to lose. Maybe not because of queen c8, but if you lost a game where you played queen c8, maybe you want to try another thing. And that's what I did. I went queen d7, which is the best move. The reason this is the best move is because this pawn is really not hanging. I mean, you could capture it, which actually happened in the game, and it quite surprised me that he took that very quickly, like within maybe 20 seconds. But the thing is, I'm going to win a pawn back. This pawn back is going to be won. And you spend a lot of moves with the queen, as you see. Now here's the major question. How do you win this pawn back? Obviously you need to bring a rook here. But which rook is the main question. If you go with the f rook, then after queen a6 and rook captures on b2, why is your rook on a8? Why is it not on f8, where it was actually producing a lot of pressure on the f file? I mean, yes, you could bring the a rook to f8 later on, but that wastes a move. Why don't you just instead, in one go, move the a rook, and now you have this rook here without actually having to waste a move. So this is how you need to think usually. Whenever you're stuck, oh, which rook do I move? Usually you need to think about your other rook, even, to actually make the correct decision. And so this is what happened in the game. Here actually I was thinking of ways to trap the queen, but I couldn't find any, so I just decided to capture the pawn. He went to queen a4 here, which I knew was like very suspicious, because I mean this is not really good. On move 15 doing all this, 3 queen moves. Well, the reason this is a mistake, actually, I could not punish this move accurately. The reason this is a major mistake is because of the knight d4, which is very, very aesthetic. Now, the point is you can't really capture right now because I take the queen, and this seems like it hangs the queen, hangs a piece after takes, takes, takes. But here's the catch: I don't have to recapture. I can make an intermediate move with check, and when he captures, I recapture, and positionally, this is very, very good for black. This is nearly lost for white. If I found this, I would have played it. But I was thinking of it actually, but then I didn't realize that knight defends the queen, which is very stupid. But such is life. Queen a4, and here I played knight to g5, knight to g4, which was obviously a miss because I had a winning move, but I missed it. But this is still a good move. I mean, I'm putting all of this pressure on this pawn. And this looks like it. The d4 looks possible, but actually not really that good, because after takes takes, I have this in between move rook b4, and I'm winning this pawn. So that's why he didn't go for this. Instead, he went for bishop to h4, defending. And here I played g5. And the thing is, I took super long thinking about g5. And according, if I turn on the lines, g5 is the only move for an advantage for black, minus 0.1. And I found it, which is obviously very nice, and I'm proud of that. But the reason you need to take a long think here is not because I'm thinking one and two moves ahead. I'm thinking into the future and in the long run. Will my king be weak because of this move? Because g7 is the only pawn in front of the king, and if you push it 2 squares in front of the king, you're only left with this h7 pawn, which, let's be honest, is not defending nobody. And so this is very committed, but I realized that this queen is offside. This knight and rook will take forever to develop, and these pieces are not really that threatening. I can always put my queen, my rook to defend if I really have to, my knight. The other knight can defend. I just have more domination on the king side, so I'm allowed to play such moves. And this looks like it can be captured twice, but neither capture is possible. The reason is, if you capture with the knight, you open up this rook, and now 4 pieces look at this pawn, while 3 only defend. And so you can basically go here, 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 and just crush. This is crushing. So that's not possible. And if you take with the bishop, well, now you left the defense of this one. And so I can still go here. And so this is a bit losing. So you can't capture it, you have to go back, and here again a very long thing and a very committal, massive decision, and again the only move for an advantage, h5. I mean, this looks like a 200 elo player is playing, like disregarding his king for nothing. But it's the best move, again, because white cannot really take advantage of the weaknesses. And here I'm obviously threatening to trap the bishop and potentially opening up the h file. So he plays d4. And as I said before, this isn't really that great because of rook b4. But he really has to, otherwise his bishop is just going to be trapped. He goes back, and here I spent a very long time, probably the longest time I've ever spent on a move, because I was calculating every single capture here. Bishop takes, knight takes, and even rook takes. Why was I calculating rook takes? Well, this isn't really a sacrifice, because at the end of the line I will gain this rook back, and I was calculating the fact that obviously he will not want to give up the rook for free, so you have to play knight d2, capture the rook, he recaptures, h4, the bishop is trapped, only move to save it is h3, and if I move the knight, I give him an escape square, so I have to capture the bishop, he captures my knight, I take, 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 queen f7, and knight to f3, and this is actually the best line, and I saw this. This is the best line according to Stockfish. I saw this. I saw that it's very good because I'm up a pawn. These three central pawns will be very strong in an endgame. This is a bad structure. But I thought maybe my king is weak. Maybe there are some sort of perpetual checks. Maybe I missed something during the line. This is like a 7 move combination. It's a bit risky. And the thing is, with so much pressure, my rooks, my knights, my bishops, I thought that I had something better. And this is why I didn't end up going for rook takes. So after calculating rook takes, I decided to calculate knight takes. And the reason I didn't go for knight takes, although it's the most natural because you want to keep this bishop and this rook, is because of knight takes on g5. Now, if you turn on the engine, it says that queen g7 is actually winning for black, or at least much better for black. And the reason is if you retreat the knight, there is this crazy line which is unfindable. h4, bishop captures, knight f3 check, and when you take, you can basically play this with a discovery. And yeah, no human is playing this line, so I don't fault myself at all for not saying queen g7. And if you don't play queen g7, I mean, this looks scary. Potentially, if this pawn hangs, if this queen somehow gets it into here, this will just be game over. And because of this fear of knight takes on g5, I decided to go for bishop capture, which is a mistake. I should have went for this queen g7 line, but I can't fault myself for not finding it. He takes, and obviously I've traded off my very strong bishop, but it's fine. And initially here I wanted to capture the rook. He goes queen e2 and life goes on. But here I thought for a while also. I'm spending my last time, my last minutes. I mean, not that I have 1 minute left, but I think here I had 15 minutes left when I made the move, and I captured with the knight. Now the reason I captured the knight is actually two reasons. One reason, let's just make a move. I'm going to play e5, and this knight is on a brilliant outpost, and c5, c4 is just very scary, and I think that would win me the game. It's very hard to stop this idea. And the second reason, which is actually the main reason, I thought that I could trick him, and I did in fact trick him. He played queen to d2. This is a mistake, but it looks winning, or at least better for white. This looks very strong, because if you guard the pawn, you lose the knight. You're going to lose the pawn, right? Well, here I played my trap, and the trap here is h4. Brilliant move. The reason it's brilliant is because I fully sacrificed this rook. Now here actually the best move is to not take the rook. And I saw this. I saw that after queen to g7 and queen captures on h4. I saw that there are ideas like wait one second. What I saw initially was that I could trap this rook. And yeah, this is good. But there's even better move. But yeah, I was just going to win the rook in the corner, and the knight would be defended by the queen, so I'd be up a full rook. But instead of this, and if he trades queens and then captures, I'm still winning this rook. But instead of this, my opponent obviously took the rook. I mean, take the free rook. This is actually a mistake. The reason this is a mistake is because knight e2 check, great move. I can't really capture the bishop right away because my knight would hang, so I need to give this intermediate check. But you thought that I'm saving the knight. This is actually not the reason that I gave this check. After king to h1, I play another brilliancy, and I think this deserves a brilliant move, but it doesn't. But it didn't get it. But it's this move, knight takes on g3, because you'd naturally capture with the pawn here, and it's the best move. And my opponent was shocked when I played this move. The idea is if he captures like this is game over. So you have to capture like this. But funnily enough, this isn't even the best move. The best move is to go back with the king, which is crazy. This shows how bad his position is, how active my pieces are, and how passive his pieces are. He took, and now I capture. Again, if you take, you lose. So in the game, my opponent played f3, and I have checkmate in 2 here. It's queen h7 and queen h2. My opponent resigned after I played queen h7, but the thing is you can't even avoid checkmate. Like, let's say you move the king to avoid the check, I still go queen h7, and now if you take the pawn, thinking you've guarded your rook, well guess what, there is checkmate anyways. And so this is how this what I would call a very fast, brilliant game ended.